Could Meghan Markle be back in the UK by the end of the year?
Well, we know Prince Harry loves to dominate the TV airwaves, but I tell you, the Prince of Wales is getting in on the act as well.
Hello and welcome to Heirs and Spares, the show where we bring you insight and opinion into the lives of two rather famous royal couples on both sides of the Atlantic. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I'll be bringing you updates on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex right here in California.
And I'm Rupert Bell, back in the UK, giving you the updates on what's going on in the royal family these last few days.
That's right. This is a little bit of an expanded episode because we have some exciting news about King Charles. But first, you just told me something off camera that made me very, very envious. Rupert Bell, talk to me about your weekend plans. Who did you see? Was it the greatest experience of your life?
I tell you what, dear viewers, bear with me. America, yes, I know you're in the height of your football season, but we are in the height of our football season, or soccer, as a lot of people call it over there. But as we know, the Prince of Wales is a massive Aston Villa fan, of which I am one as well. I won't show you my season ticket, but I am a season ticket holder. But I was last Wednesday at a game where Aston Villa have made it into the Champions League, which is the big sort of club competition. Well, we played Bayern Munich, a club we beat to win the European Cup. I can see most people's eyes glazing over here, back in 1982. However, the big night, our first home game in this season's Champions League, of which we qualified last season, was against Bayern Munich. I was there, but more importantly, amongst the crowd, the Prince of Wales, William, managed to make it to the ground for the first time. Now, he is a huge, passionate Aston Villa fan. And people say, why? Aston Villa is a suburb in Birmingham. It's a very historic football club, one of the founding members of the Football League. But I'm told the reason he became a football fan is because a lot of his schoolmates were supporters of Manchester United and Chelsea. And he thought, well, that seems rather boring and predictable. But he went to a cup semi-final back in 2000, went as a spectator, he said, with his beanie hat on, and he got hooked on Aston Villa. Now, he is a serious football man in the sense that he is president of the FA, the Football Association. But we have seen pictures of him before cheering on. And he's a real fan. He looks genuine. When we had a disallowed goal, he was all up out in his seats. There are pictures out there. And then he was with three of his mates, I think. So it wasn't just going with all the sort of dignitaries, of which there would have been plenty that night. So he was there as a fan. Of course, it's probably quite complicated for him to go. It does require security. We know that. But he genuinely, and interestingly, I worked with a guy called Ali McCoist. Now, that day, Ali McCoist, who is a big commentator over here, was getting an OBE from the Prince of Wales. So Ali and I had been discussing what he should be wearing for going to see Windsor Castle to see. And I know Ali McCoist, who's a big celebrity over here, talk sport, commentator, well-known figure here, great football player when he played the game. I'm sure he had a very in-depth conversation for about the 2 minutes that you get with the Prince of Wales when you're getting an OBE about the game, which I know he talked to him about. But Prince William is a serious football fan. And for me, an Aston Villa fan, we're all looking up and we're seeing him giving it plenty of this, as we all were, because it was one of the great sporting nights that I've ever experienced as a true fan. I went as a fan, not working. Just had a great, memorable night, and Prince William was there to enjoy it, along with many 42,000 other Aston Villa fans.
Well, that's interesting. You were both kind of off the clock, just there to purely enjoy the experience. Was the beard in attendance as well, or did he have a clean face?
Well, I think he's looking. He's got the beard now, isn't he?
Yeah. I think he's committing to it lately.
Well, I think that's his look now. I think he's obviously been given the green light. I imagine, he says to his wife, "Is this work?" Because that's what goes on, isn't it? Is this working? Or do I need to shave it off? Beards are de rigueur now, aren't they? I
Yeah.
don't want to have a beard, but they're sort of amongst the, beards now seem to be in vogue. And look, it's his look now. He hasn't got much on top, so maybe this is an area of compensation. But anyway, great to see him enjoying himself at the football. But actually, more importantly, I think, Kinsey, what we are seeing is the way he's trying to evolve his new working life around managing being there for his wife as she continues to continue her rehabilitation, which is obviously taking some time.
It makes you feel a little bit more confident that he feels comfortable going out to an event like this without any fanfare. I mean, I this is my job. I watch these people pretty religiously, and I didn't know that he was out with a group of his friends solely, that this was just something he was doing in his free time. It makes you feel like things are starting to settle down a little bit more or to improve. And I guess, could we say the same when it comes to King Charles? I know that this is this is Heirs and Spares, but it is such an important story that I feel like we have to address it. The king, he's going to pause his cancer treatment because he's been given approval from his doctors to travel to Australia for a royal visit. And they just say he's going to resume that treatment upon his return. Is this a case of the doctors, in your personal opinion? I know that you're not a doctor, but um, do you feel like this is a case of the doctors feeling a little bit more positive about the king? Or is this a case of our stubborn king that is going to make it work and is going to visit Australia?
This trip has been planned, and I think we have to accept that he's always been slightly led by the medical advice and trying to manage his life. And that's what Queen Camilla is trying to do, is to get him to sit down and just read, don't try and overcommit. Now, he's been busy. But I think what they're trying to say is, look, you will have treatment, but we can manage it. I would imagine that is a good sign, because they obviously feel they've got things proceeding in a good fashion. Now, we no idea, and we never should have any idea, because your medical records are something that you should keep private. Obviously, the plan is they've cut short the trip, because originally this was going to include a trip to New Zealand. So they've cut it back. There's Australia, and then there's a trip to Samoa. I think he's had a reception the other day where he met some people from Samoa, and there was a sort of a reception to sort of tee up the visit, as it were. So I think he's very keen to get back on the road. I know he will be frustrated because he feels, look, he's in his mid-70s anyway, that he wants to feel that he can get out there and do his job.
Yeah.
And I think we have to take it as a positive sign. The doctors will be monitoring at all times. Let's hope it goes off without incident. He's managing his schedule now, very much being in Scotland, sort of making sure he's physically capable, because look, it's going to Australia is never easy anyway. It's the other side of the world, and your body clock suddenly goes completely out of kilter. And he's got to manage that and expect to be on his best behavior. So fingers crossed, it's a very positive sign that they're managing his workload, which we've seen him still doing stuff in Scotland, which he loves. We saw him at a parliamentary do the other day in Scotland. We know he's been holding receptions on a regular basis. Burkle is his place where he loves to go anyway. So hopefully this trip to Australia can be seen in a very positive light with regard to his recovery.
How much do you think Queen Camilla holding down the fort and taking on more responsibility, being really kind and compassionate when people ask about the king, she'll say he's doing well. She'll give them quirky updates, kind of showing off her sense of humor, that she can't keep him still, things like that. How much is her behavior, how much is the king's diagnosis softened hearts towards her? Because I still meet people today that say, I loved Diana, I can't stand Camilla, but I do feel like that number is lessening. I do feel like more people are open to the idea of Queen Camilla today.
I think we have to accept that it is the status quo. Look, the whole thing, it was messy. The Diana thing, the Camilla thing, what was going on was, people had a very strong view about Diana. And people are entitled to that. But we actually have to take it now out of the context of what went on behind. And now we're just looking at a person, they are a married couple. You have to put that aside, whatever before. They are very happy with one another. They know how to work their life together. She is an incredibly positive influence on him. And I think her way of, she knows that she has to sort of call the shots. And she has taken up the slack and has been out there. Her work with getting reading and all that kind of stuff that she does. She doesn't want to, she is not another one who sits still, but she knows she needs a space, but she's incredibly supportive, as any wife should be, of their husband undergoing cancer treatment. If you just take out the situation that they're in, they are just like any other couple at the same time having to manage someone's recovery from cancer. And we know lots of people, the length and breadth of the land, who are going through the same thing. Just in their case, it's in the glare of publicity. And Queen Camilla has to sort of be the block, as it were, to and restrain his natural inclination to just get out there and not sit still.
And we just spoke about Prince William's work-life balance and trying to have, in his case, he's trying to support the Princess of Wales, but in King Charles's case, it's really finding peace, healing, and trying to be the sovereign that he dreamt of being for 70 years. Do you think that he is finding a good balance when you look at his schedule and when you look at the times where he kind of disappears to heal and to recover?
I think it's never going, you're probably damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah.
But I will have a natural inclination in the King's case that he's in his mid-70s. You've got to give him the time. He wants to be out there. If he can be, he will be. That is, I think, probably his mantra. I will do my darndest to be out and about and meet and greet. But obviously, doctors will be putting a occasional restraining order on him.
Yeah.
You actually take that into William's case as well. And it's interesting the way his work-life balance, and we talked about this fact that he's going to be on a documentary. We actually saw Catherine the other day when at that investiture that I was alluding to, that my mate Ali McCoist was at, that they had a photographer there, and Catherine was, because it was in Windsor, we knew that she was there and was just sort of in the wings, as it were. So she's out and about. But in Prince Wales's case, I think this documentary does enable him to still be seeing and caring about the things that he's passionate about. And we know the homelessness and Earthshot are two his big sort of projects, as it were. And this documentary coming out now, bearing in mind we've also got the Earthshot Award coming up shortly as well, where winners will be announced from that. It's his way, I think, of saying, well, I can't necessarily be out on the road as much, but I'll do what I can because I need to be home for my kids and my wife. But I'll still be out there doing stuff, and maybe doing a documentary is something that can be done quietly. And obviously we will see the fruits of this documentary in due course, because we know homelessness is something that he's passionate about, but it's a very difficult one. He's got to sort of dance a fine line of being political, or just, is it his passion? We all know homelessness is bad. Look, you live in California and you've got huge issues with that in Los Angeles and California. We've got huge issues here. It is something that the Prince of Wales is passionate about. He's having to navigate it politically, but he can open doors and persuade people, right, we need to be doing something about it. Because if you're a right-minded individual, you do not want to see people out on the street sleeping rough, as winter particularly approaches.
Absolutely. And what you're referencing is Prince William's new ITV documentary, Prince William, We Can End Homelessness, which is focusing on his advocacy across the UK. They released a clip on Instagram and I'm sure X.
So am I looking at you?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Where does your passion for this particular issue come from? Why this?
I think it's really important that we can try and change and tackle the narrative around homelessness. People live with it. We see it every day in our lives. That's something I want to challenge.
Have you seen that clip where he's
Yeah,
talking?
yeah, it's just very brief. Sort of tells him where is he looking at the camera.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all
No, no,
very.
no. It was super cute, but what I appreciated about it was there was a gotcha question right there to me. Like, what inspired your passion for homelessness? What ITV wants to hear is when I was a young boy, my mother used to take me to homeless shelters, and that instilled in me that this was something that I should be concerned about. But he didn't go there. He is saying, this is my cause. This is mine. This is something that I feel very passionate about. And I almost feel like I respect him more for that because and we might get the Diana backstory once we see the full thing. We might get it. But to me, it felt like his instinct to not go there immediately is not the way Prince Harry would go. Prince Harry would immediately say, well, my mom, and then go into whatever he does because that's his instinct. And to me, I just love the fact that Prince William is saying, I'm owning this. This is important to me.
I think he has to accept that. Look, sadly, he lost his mother in 1997. So, not that she's the backstory to this, but you are always defined by your parents at times. And her passion for it was there and instilled a sense of duty in both her children. And the homeless was something that she could quietly go and do her work. But as you say, he does need to own it now because the Diana story, while it was important at the time, it's not relevant to 2024.
Yeah.
And what is that the future King of England sees this as something that if he wants to be the king of this country, he wants to feel he can leave a lasting contribution. And if by his position can help, you're never going to eradicate it, but provide something that will make it better for people who are in these unfortunate circumstances, then that will be something that he wants to work on. But I would suggest that he was defined by his mother's understanding and gave him an initial understanding. Obviously, now, since then, his work in that area has given him a wider level of experience. And now it is his job to try and bring in the various stakeholders and people who can actually do something, whether it be on a local level, on a national level, to make sure that people who end up in these circumstances, there is a route for them to get back on a normal path.
Yeah, and you're right. He's done so much of that already with the Homewards project. And I guess throughout the documentary, we're going to see how, they've raised or provided $3.8 million in seed money to 6 UK locations. And the objective there is to connect with other leaders within the community. And how can we all work together to make our community a better, safer place for these people, find different venues that they can transform into spots for these people. I mean, everything that I see from Prince William is, there are plans, there are future plans, and there are very clear initiatives that are drawn out, and that's incredibly impressive. Do you think that this documentary will be received well? Is this something that people are going to tune in to watch, or is this kind of considered a snooze fest? And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but we have seen Live to Lead fail on Netflix. Harry and Meghan's documentary, Heart of Invictus, was considered a commercial failure on Netflix. But Prince William, this is on ITV, where anybody can turn on the TV and sit back and watch. This is in a country that he's inevitably going to lead. Do you think that there will be different results? Will there be more successful results when it comes to this, Doc?
It's hard to say. I'm sure it'll be very well done. Let's just look at it at the heart of it. What we know is that Prince William now wants to do things that it's not just turn up, cut some ribbon, and then walk away. He wants to do less. There are projects, but concentrate on certain key issues. And this will be part of the awareness. Now, let's be honest, TV viewing figures are much less than they used to because we've all got streaming. I don't know where to go. Look, passes me by in an absolute confusion of sort of, well, that program's there. Well, I haven't got that, so I can't see that. Oh, that's a shame. But at least I can watch this documentary because it's on ITV over in here. I will be watching it, but obviously I'm sort of probably got my bit of my professional hat on it. But I will be interesting to see what the tone of it is and what the conclusions of it and what does he feel at the end of this documentary, which is obviously trying to highlight the work. What does he see as the route to making sure that this doesn't just become a lot of talking heads? Because always the problem in these things.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Because I just had a thought. I also feel like Harry and Meghan, the most exposure we've seen of them was the Harry and Meghan docuseries, which was like the 6-part reality show. When it comes to Heart of Invictus, when it comes to Live to Lead, there was not really necessarily a vulnerability there. Not the vulnerability that I felt like, and the charm. It's more charming than vulnerability, but definitely an intimacy that I felt like we saw from Prince William in that brief clip. Access to him that we don't normally have, especially in comparison to Prince Harry. A willingness to be honest and open, and he didn't feel like he had his guard up. Like he was almost silly. Where do you want me to look? Where am I looking here? Well, and I just feel like there's just so much more charm oozing from this man.
I think look, we have to see it, and we have to see. We know that all these things are done pretty slick. Look, the PR houses of both the Sussexes and the Waleses are working overtime at the moment. You know, we saw the video after the summer holidays. You know, there's a lot of PR stuff going on. So you've got to sort of slightly go, well, okay, yeah, we know, you know, everything now is done within an inch of its PR life. Some success, some not. But you know, the Waleses, this is his pet thing, and he's putting his heart and soul into it. And that's what we want to see, that when he talks about it, it is something that feels like a genuine commitment that has his heart involved in it, not just doing it because he thinks he should be doing it. I think so. That's what I want to see, is a confirmation that this is really done for all the right reasons. It's a tough project to be taking on. It's ambitious because, let's be honest, people have probably been trying to do this for centuries. But what he has to do is feel that he is leaving something, a bit like the Prince's Trust for the King has left a definite mark. And you can see the achievements of the Prince's Trust through the years and people who've benefited from that. If in 10 years' time, this homelessness project can see, and there was lots of people who benefited from this and have managed to regroup, then that will be a positive result of this. And that's, I think, what he wants. He's looking 10 years down the line. Can I look back and say, I've helped however many people get back on the road to what will feel like something like a normal life?
But I also think that, you know, having Homewards launch in 2023, this documentary is them giving us a little glimpse of what they've accomplished in such a short period of time. And he's holding himself accountable, which is a lot more than we see any of the other royals do. And in doing so, now we're going to think at every anniversary, well, what have they done since then? What have they done since the last time we checked in? So I think it's really, I mean, to me, it's great leadership because it again seems more open and honest than we get from most of our politicians here in the United States, but from a lot of people. Let's move over to Harry and Meghan because, well, we're contractually obligated to, like Harry was contractually obligated to produce Live to Lead and Heart of Invictus, unlike Prince William in his ITV documentary. What are you, initially, I want to hear your thoughts when you hear the idea of Harry and Meghan professional separation, going their separate ways. You know, it's almost an obvious observation when Harry leaves for an extended vacation, or I should say an extended excursion. I doubt it's much of a vacation, but you know, he's not with his wife for several weeks. He's doing a lot of old royal looking events. Do you immediately think, yeah, that's a professional separation? Or do you think maybe Harry just wanted to go away for 2 weeks and wanted to do something on his own?
The places he's gone over this sort of 2 or 3 week periods are the things that have meant a lot to him throughout his life. And I think you have to look well, child, that coming over for this, something that he's worked in for a long time. I'm cool with that. Come over, do it. Absolutely, this is your thing. And the Well Child charity love his support for what he does and him being there, because we know when before all this happened, he could light up a room. Now he's going back to Lesotho, some happy place. I think I think didn't Gwyneth Paltrow call her marriage to Chris Martin or whoever it was an unconscious coupling? Maybe they are
unconscious uncoupling.
Unconscious. Anyway, I knew I'd
But
get it wrong.
I do love it when you drop a Gwyneth Paltrow quote. I mean, it's really truly gives me goosebumps.
Anyway, you might as well. But I'm laying off the gloop or whatever it is. But anyway, or the goop. But what I'm referring to is the fact that I think he does see when he goes to Africa, that is his happy place. And he's done, and going to Lesotho, going and the Centabili project, those are things that he was happy with. And I think when he goes there now, he can just be himself, because without question, when his wife is in tow, it's a very different dynamic. And because she can't accept being the number two, even in the sort of, if he's the one, the main focus, it's his gig, she wants to be the number one. So I think it is much better for both of them that they can then do their stuff. And if it means Meghan can then concentrate on America Riviera Orchard, which I still, look, you're in America. I don't know whether you've heard any rumors whether wherever you see the like of days, but the articles seem to refer that she's working hard on this. Well,
she's working so hard that she had to recycle a dress on Saturday night. She just grabbed some random thing from the closet.
Well, okay, no, I'm nothing wrong with recycling a dress.
If it's hideous, yes, there is something wrong. If it's hideous, you're gonna want to go for option number 2 or hit a Target on your way there.
Well, one of the things is she doesn't always take advice as to how she looks, because she thinks, and one of always the accusations is Meghan knows best. Now she went to this thing. I don't know, that all fine and dandy, looks good. I think it's probably best for Harry. I think because then he's just being himself again. Now, I think by all accounts, he stayed over for a few extra days, maybe reconnecting with friends. And he needs to do that because at times he does look like a lost soul. Now we can talk about him having his best life in California with his children, with his wife, and the network of friends around them, all fine and dandy. But you still need that sort of old school, your friends around you, just to give you a bit of joy around. It can't all be sort of in California and thinking how wonderful we are. Let's get back out the road and do what he does best. And him going to Africa, him going to Well Child is what he did best before. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt and hope he's enjoying himself and finding a little spark in his life and bring back that natural smile, which back in the day he had easily out there, and everyone loved his ability to connect. And that's why, the William, Catherine, and Harry trio were very successful for a time, because they all looked after each other and did have something about him. Harry was the sort of naughty, cheeky chappy. William knew his role as number one, but Harry brought that spontaneity, which was endeared himself to the British public. If he can reconnect that, then you never know. But there does seem to be a strategy afoot.
I do appreciate your observation that because these are things that have meant so much to Prince Harry over the years, that he's going to kind of melt back into the groove of being around familiar faces at Wellchild, and heading to South Africa and reconnecting with old friends, and he can do that last minute change of plans because he's alone. Like if he were with Meghan, absolutely not, because Meghan wants to get back to the kids and Meghan doesn't know this person, so it's not important for her to stay over a few extra days because she doesn't know this guy. But because it shifts my initial thinking, which was that if these are causes that are so incredibly important to Prince Harry, like 16 years of Wellchild, how devastating that his wife isn't there to share it with him. So I like listening to your observation because that shifts my brain. I go, yeah, you're right. I mean, now he's in his element, he's comfortable, he's more free, he knows that Meghan and the children are safe at home, and he's able to really blossom in this space that he's familiar with and that is truly in his DNA. But what about this other theory that is being circulated by American publicists, that Harry on his own is a way for him to demonstrate that Meghan doesn't wear the pants in the family and that Meghan is not the boss, and that this is Harry and his team trying to show us that he is his own man?
Well, and I think he needs to do that as well, because there is this feeling that he's been slightly cuckolded by Meghan, and sort of, it's her show and not his show. And I think it is very important because here I'm going to sort of, a narrow example is people say to me, I go to lots of sports events, and then they say, well, why doesn't your wife come? Does your wife ever come along? Now, I'm not bringing my domestic issues out there. My wife would say, well, I'm never going to see him. What's the point?
Yeah.
He's doing his thing. He's at work. So why do they feel? You don't see, William and Catherine didn't always. Okay, they might go to the nice glitzy Oscar opening film ceremony and they'll do one or two things together. But in the main, they'd be doing their own thing. And isn't that, Meghan should be doing her own thing, and Harry should feel quite happy. I'm going to do my own thing. I've got my projects I want to be involved in. I want to work on. I don't feel I need you at all times holding my hand and attached to me like a limpet mine.
It reminds me of when one of the last times they were in London together, how she would actually roll the window down to wave at people and to say hi to people. And it's like, Harry, you're saying it's too dangerous. And your wife is literally rolling the window down. Like she's not, you need to give her the memo as well. But I'm glad that we agree on that. That's kind of a topic that I'd like to squash and never discuss again, because I think it's so unrealistic. But I guess our question would be to the audience, do you agree? Or do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. We want you to like, subscribe, and share this conversation with a friend. Rupert, you've been requested repeatedly, so I'm glad I can give the ladies what they want. Thank you so much for coming back.
Kinsey, been a one vodka and tonic podcast.
That's good. That's good.
One vodka and tonic podcast. I've just managed to empty it, so I'm glad we've come to the end, because I need to refill my glass.
You gotta go refill.
Anyway, happy days, everybody.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next time.